The curriculum that we're going to be using is Tennessee Foundational Skills Curriculum Supplement. It's grade 2, unit 1, and you guys are getting started with the very first lesson. So let's jump in. For lesson 1, we're going to spend some time really digging into our code books. And so when we dig into our code books, we're going to do work with our letter codes, the sounds that we hear, and turning those into the spellings that we need to use when we write. So that's a big thing that we're going to do in this lesson. We're also going to do some dictation where I say a word and you write it and then we check it. And then we're also going to do some reading. So I'm very excited about that and I hope you are too. Let's look at what we might need to be able to complete this lesson successfully. In order to participate in this lesson, you're going to need your code chart. Your code chart is called an individual code chart, and if you've downloaded the curriculum supplement from Tennessee, you'll go to your grade 2 materials and download the individual code chart. I like to print mine out. I printed mine out and put it in a folder, and that way you guys can follow along with me and we keep it for every lesson. So that's something you'll need for every lesson. Now, specific to this lesson, you'll need paper and or maybe a dry erase board to write on. You'll also need pencil and or a dry erase marker. So if you're going the paper pencil route, that's what you'll need. If you want to do a dry erase, then you'll need a dry erase board or a dry erase marker. Now, just helpful hint, if you don't have a dry erase board at home, if you have a plastic plate, like from a birthday party, plastic throwaway plate, you can write on those and wipe them right off. So that's something, just a little DIY if you want a dry erase board and you have a dry erase marker at home. You'll also need a red marker and a green marker. I personally like markers, but if what you have at home is maybe a green highlighter and a pink highlighter, that will work. If you have crayons, if you have colored pencils, if you could find something that we can mark red and something we can mark green, that will be perfect. Again, if you've downloaded the Tennessee Foundational Skills Curriculum Supplement, you'll need worksheets 1.1 and 1.2. If you haven't downloaded that, you're welcome to go to the website or Google Tennessee Foundational Skills Curriculum Supplement and go to the student workbook and to the ancillary materials. The ancillary materials, you'll find your code chart. As student workbook, you will find your worksheets. All right, you might want to pause the video since this is your first lesson and be able to gather those materials. Now, as we progress through our lessons, lesson 2, you won't have to find as many materials. We will reuse these same ones, but you will need to have access to either the student materials that are with these lessons on the Best for All Central, or the access to the Foundational Skills Curriculum Supplement through Tennessee Department of Education. So go ahead and pause the video if you'd like to, and then unpause it when you have all your materials and you're ready to go. All right, it is important that before we get ready to read or write, that we're always warming up. And the way that we warm ourselves up to read and write is by really understanding the sounds that we hear, so that we understand the sounds that we need to make in order to read and to write. And so we're going to do some warming up today. And if you're familiar with this curriculum supplement, maybe you did it in first grade or even in kindergarten, then you'll know that we do warm-ups every day to get us ready to eventually get to that reading I told you that was coming at the end of the lesson. So let's get warmed up today by doing some code work. All right, so in order to do our code work, we will need our individual code chart. Okay, again, that's something that you could have downloaded, or maybe you got sent that packet sent home. So you'll need your individual code chart, and then you'll also need that red and that green marker. So you guys go ahead and be finding that while I move over to our document camera so you can see my folder. Okay, see my folder here? I may have to make a few adjustments to get it where you can see everything that you need and want to see during the lesson. All right, so you can tell I used an old folder that I had at home, has my child's name on it, and just hole punched that code chart that I downloaded and put it in the folder. That way I can keep up with it and I know that I'm ready for every lesson. I also chose a red marker and a green marker. That way I'll be ready to use those for our lesson. All right, for today's warm-up, we are going to warm up with our vowels first. So go ahead and rack your brain and see if you can name the vowels of the alphabet. Go ahead and holler them out, Tennessee. Very good, very good. I'm hoping that you named these vowels. A, I, E, U, and O. Now, a lot of times we say them in this order. A, E, I, O, U. That's just the order that we've been taught to say them in, and that's usually the order that we say them in. So go ahead and find this page. I believe it is close to the end, maybe around page 8 of your code book. My page numbers got covered up when I printed it. I'm sorry, it's page 7. Page 7 in your code book. And in order to practice our vowel sounds, we're going to need our green marker. So get your green marker or green colored pencil, green, whatever you have that's green. All right, let's practice this sound. Now, you learned in kindergarten and in first grade about the speech bubbles. And if you're new to this, we're going to learn about it right now. So when I have a speech bubble and I see this letter set off by the slants, then I know that that's asking me to say this sound. Okay, so this sound is what, Tennessee? Ah, that's exactly right. Ah. Now, when I move over in my code chart, I see the spelling for I. Apologize. Let me open it up a little bit. I see the spelling for I is spelled with the letter what? A. That's right. And then I'm reminded about this power bar. So this power bar down here shows me that this is a very common spelling, and in fact, the most common spelling for the I sound. Everybody practice making that I sound. Watch my mouth and then you make it. I. Your turn. Very good. What do you notice about my mouth? Just watch my mouth. What do you notice about my mouth when I make the I sound? Yeah, so my mouth is open. I'm letting the air go out of my mouth. What does green represent on a stoplight? Yes, so it represents go. So this is going to help me in my code chart remember which sounds let air go and which sounds are going to stop the air from going. But I know this I sound spelled with letter A is one that lets the air go, right? So I'm going to go around it, trace around it with my green marker. And as I pick up my pencil or my marker, I'm going to say I, and then I'm going to say A, because that is what represents the I sound when I'm reading and writing. So let's do this again. I, A. Now, turn and tell someone that you're sitting near, and maybe if you're by yourself, like my child's by herself doing her work downstairs right now, maybe you have a favorite teddy bear, or you have a basketball, or you have a puppy dog sitting near you. Tell them what sound this is and what letter represents that when I'm spelling. So I might turn to my puppy dog and say, "Hey, Molly, the sound I is represented by the letter A. I, A." Very good. Very good. All right. So let's move down to our next sound, our speech bubble. What sound should I say when I see this symbol? I. I should say I. What do you notice about my mouth? I, what's this? I is this. My mouth is still open. My lips are open. So that means the air is going out of my mouth. So I'm going to go around this sound with my green marker. Also going to put a little dot at the top of that I. Looks like the printer missed one on mine. If it missed it on yours, go ahead and correct that. We can also put our other little slant bar there. All right, so I is represented by the letter I. And look at the power bar. So the power bar is almost all the way across. That means it is most commonly spelled with the letter I. But if I look over here, it looks like sometimes, look how tiny that power bar is. Sometimes I might spell it with a Y. That's very interesting. A as in hat. I as in it. Both of these vowel sounds, I'm letting the air go, so I used my green marker to mark them in my code chart. I want you to take just a second and I want you to review those sounds 3 times. So it would look something like this. A, I. That's 1. A, I. That's 2. A, I. That's 3. You've got 10 seconds. You do it as well. 5 seconds. Very good. All right, Tennessee. If you participated and you did it, I want you to say, I did great with my sounds. Very good. Very good. All right, now let's move on from our vowel sounds. Let's go to a different page in our book, in our code book. Let's go and review some consonant sounds. Consonant sounds are going to begin on page 1 of your code chart. All right, so on page 1 of our code chart, we are going to use our red markers to review these sounds and to mark our sounds. Okay, so we want to make sure that we mark our sounds the way that we need to mark them, and we look at the spellings that we're going to use today. Because if you notice, the P sound has how many spellings? It has 2. The B sound has how many spellings? 2. The T sound has how many spellings? 3. And the D sound has how many spellings? It has 3. So when we think about going into our code charts, we want to make sure that we look at the spellings that are there, and we want to make sure that we focus on the right ones. Okay, so today we're going to review the P sound. What do you notice about my mouth when I make the P sound? I'm holding the air back, aren't I? And then I let it go. Where my vowel sound, I'm letting it go the whole time. With the P sound, I'm holding it back. And the spelling that we're going to practice with today is just the 1 letter P. I look under the power bar, it's the most common spelling for the P sound. So I'm going to say P. And then I'm going to outline the spelling that we're working on today and say P. So P as in pot. You do it. P as in pot. Very good. All right, let's look down at the B sound. B. Do you notice about my mouth? B. Yes, it's stopping the air. Remember, the air was coming out. The air and sound is coming out. B is being held in by my mouth, right? Oh, it looks like my printer messed up again. So let's make this long and tall like a lowercase b is supposed to be. B. And we're going to work on just this first spelling as in bat. When I look at the power bar, I know that that's most commonly the way that we spell it. But sometimes, okay, there, my printer's got a mind of its own. Sometimes we spell it with two B's, as in rubbing. But today we're only going to work on our first spelling, as in bat. B, B as in bat. Your turn. B as in bat. Very good. All right, let's go to our next sound. Our next sound is t, t. What do you notice about my mouth? T, t. I'm holding that air back. Remember? T, ah. Those are very different. T, ah, very different. Okay, so when I'm holding that air back, I use my red marker to let me know that I'm stopping some of the air. And this is lowercase letter e as in, excuse me, boys and girls, lowercase letter t as in top. Let's do that one again. All right, so the sound is t. We spell it with one t, t as in top. It can be spelled other ways, but today we're only focusing on the one t. Okay, let's go down to our next sound. D, d. What do we notice about the air? The sound is being held back through my mouth, through my teeth. D. It's not coming out as it does in the vowel sounds that we reviewed, like ah and I. Okay, so I'm going to go around the spelling we're working on today, which is one letter D as in dot. See our power bar? Our power bars for each one of our spellings we're working on today, they're the longest. So that means they're the most common. As we move out to the ends, they're less common. Okay, it doesn't mean that we won't ever see them, it just means that we won't see them as much as we are going to see the spellings that we have today. So let's review them. Remember, this was called warm-up time. So let's review them. We're going to say the sound, and then we're going to say the spelling that we're going to use to represent that sound. P, B, B, T, T, D, D. Your turn. Very good. All right, if you can, quickly flip back to your vowels. Let's see if we can review those one more time. The sound would be A, spelling is A. A, A, I. Your turn. Very, very good. All right, second graders in Tennessee, let's kiss our brains. And let's move on to the next part of our lesson. All right, so the next part of our lesson, we're going to do some work with chaining. So in order to do the work with chaining with me today, and again, that's something you're familiar with if you used this in another grade level. If you didn't, no worries, we'll get used to it today. All right, so our chaining work for today looks a little bit like this. You are going to need either your paper and pencil or your dry erase board. Remember, you can have either one of those. They are both fine and they will work well. For me, I'm going to use a dry erase board and a dry erase marker. So go ahead and get that out. All right, we're going to begin chaining. Now, in the first grade and in kindergarten, you might have used something like this to represent your chain. So you might have said, all right, so a teacher asked you to make the word mat, mat, and then she might have asked you to change the word to hat, hat. But since you guys are second graders, we're going to use paper and pencil, dry erase boards, okay? Because you guys are ready to move into that part of chaining. And so we're going to start our chain with at. So I'm going to write the word at. Thinking about the sounds that I hear, at, at. I want us to turn this word into add, add. So I think about the sounds that I hear in first grade. I know you did a lot of blending and segmenting. So the sounds that I hear in the word add are ah, ad. I'm going to change the sound to a d. And then I'm going to check it and make sure that it says add. Okay, let's do dad. Dad. How many sounds do we hear in the word dad? D, add, dad. Right, so I'm going to add the d sound here to make this word d, add, dad. Now I want us to turn this word into pad. Pad. So in order to turn this word into pad, I'm going to change this beginning sound from a d to a p and make the word pad. Now I want us to turn this word into tad. Add. Let's try it again. Add. Tad. So I need to change the p sound to a t. Tad. Now I want to make this word bad. B. Add. B. Add. Bad. So I'm going to change the t to a b. B. Add. Bad. And the last one in this chain is bat. So I want to change this word bad into bat. B, a, t. Which sound do I need to change? B, add to b, a, t. Very good. I need to change the ending sound from a d to a t. B, at, bat. Very good. Very good. All right. Now I want you guys to practice a little bit with our other vowel that we reviewed. So we reviewed a and we spelled it with an A. We also reviewed I spelled with an I. Let's start our chain with the word it. 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 Now for this set of chaining, I'm going to let you do them and then I'll uncover my answer. So it'll be kind of like a secret reveal, okay? So I'm going to call out the word. The first word you're starting with is it. So go ahead and get that on your paper or your dry erase board. Then I will say the next word in our chain, and I want you to create it. I'll create it as well, and then I will move my paper so that you can see. All right, here we go. You're beginning with it. If you already have that on your paper, give me a thumbs up. If you don't, you need to get it on there now. All right, let's go. All right, so we're going to take the word it and we are going to turn it into bit. B, it, bit. Check your answer. If you got that one right, give me a thumbs up. Very good, bit. All right, now we have the word bit and I would like for you to turn it into pit. It, pit. Pit. If yours looks like mine, kiss your brain. Very good. All right, I would like for you to take the word pit and I would like you to turn it into the word pat. At. Pat. Tell me which letter you changed. Was it a vowel or a consonant? Good. I hope that you said you changed the vowel I to the vowel A and turned the word pit into the word pat. Very good. All right, let's turn this word into bat. B-at, bat. Pick your answer. If you got that correctly, say, oh yeah. Let me hear you a little bit louder, Tennessee. Very good. All right, very last one. I want you to turn the word bat into bad. Bad. Bat to bad. Excellent job. Now, if you got all of those correct, I want you to give yourself a big smiley face. Woo! If you got most of them correct, I want you to give yourself a heart.